Welcome to Bass and Bonsai. Real quick, I want to get this spool weight recommendations on reels out of the way because what I'm doing now is I'm actually going to put the line that I picked up over, we were on the forever fall bite, so I'm just now getting around to it and we're already in the middle of January. February, March, sometime in March is probably when I'll be planning to hit the water again fishing. So technically, I don't really have a bunch of time to kind of do everything I need to do. I still need to go through my tackle box, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to put this line on, and we're going to try it out this next coming season. And I've tried Proberos before, and I've also had, I'll try to show you real quick. I don't have any of the line left, but I've tried this. I believe it was last year, or actually the year before. Years ago, I tried Proberos, and then last year, if you remember right, I was trying Hercules. So I've been using AliExpress braid for a while now. I've even some of it doesn't even have a name. Like it's not even named, and you'll order it, and it'll come just with a bare spool of line and won't even have anything like this. But then I've also tried this stuff out, and I'm going to be honest, I've yet to have a bad batch of braid come from AliExpress that just seemed like it was junk. Yeah, I've had 4 strands that they just, they're loud, but they seem to be all right, and that's the cheapest you can still get is the 4-strand stuff. But I don't know, last year or so I started switching to 8. And really just, it's kind of a noise thing going through the guides. After a while it'll get off your, it'll get on your nerves. But so we're trying this out this year, and I basically I kind of I didn't want to put this on every reel. I like that color probably better than any of them. It's got that kind of gold, green, and brown, just a camo color. This is good looking line. This good looking line, it's not quite as good as, and I'll show you, this isn't Proberos. I bought a used reel, and he was using the Suffix 832 camo stuff. And hopefully, I don't know, it's kind of hard to see, but instead of that, where this has like a black, this has like a lighter purple, light blue, and white kind of stuff is the difference. And this may be just because it was old and faded. This is brand new. But I have a few of you know the NRXs and a few other rods and reels that the camo stuff would just kind of look weird on. So I got, basically that's the main reason why I got 2 different colors and 10 pound, and that'll be my main ones. And I bought it, I want to say I gave $17 for this. As you can see there, 1,000 meters, 10 pound. And so as I get into this, talking about spools, I just finished doing what I call a stress test, and I use this color. It should be the same, and I may want to check it, but I just wanted to double check because I know everybody wonders, you're buying line, whether you buy mono, fluoro, braid, and you're like, how accurately is this rated? Does it say 10 pound, but it takes like 15 pounds of pressure, or will it snap with 8 pounds of pressure? So it's not 100% scientific, but all I did was I went over there to my pole, used some of my stuff I have with my weights. I tied on to the pole, basically, using the knot that wouldn't slip, and then I tied on to an actual lure that I attached that lure to my scale. I turned my scale on, zeroed it out, and then I just proceeded to stretch and pull. And I'm watching the scale as I'm pulling and to see when this line broke. And this line broke. It was just past 10. It didn't make it to 11. I didn't see 11. I think it was like 10.65. Something like that is when it finally snapped. And if you want to try that test, have a good footing, because even though it's only 10 pounds of pressure, if you're pulling too hard when it does break and you're not ready for it, you could like fall on your behind or be sitting in a chair or something. But anyway, so I kind of stress tested it. I guess it's kind of right where it should be. I was hoping it would break at like 12 or 14, I'm just saying. But it did snap right at just over 10, so that'll work just fine. And I guess when I was doing the stress test, I was thinking, I've never really talked to you guys about, I've 100,000 times about using braid to a leader. But kind of my mindset on it when I switched to it and how I see it as, because I have fly fished also, and I kind of consider my braid instead of more like just we call it our main line and that kind of stuff, but it's more like fly line to me. Like it's just a line that is on there. I'm not, you know, if I could get away with running a 50-pound braid to whatever size leader, then I probably would, because I don't want that to be any weak point. I don't want to have to worry about my 50 yards, 20 yards, however many yards of main line, kind of like you do on a fly rod, if any of you guys are familiar with that. You know, if guys are out fly fishing and none of the records and none of the stuff go by their fly line they're using, they go by their tippet material, your leader. You know, is it a 1 pound, 2 pound, 6 pound, 8 pound, 10 pound. So I kind of have that mindset when I'm using braid. So, and Charles, he uses just 15. He buys 15-pound braid. He uses it for his BFS, his regular. He's like, I just put 15 pound. He'll probably find out with these littler spools, like he's got a Black Knight too. He probably will have to get some 10-pound braid. And I think he has the same kind of mindset as me. We just, you know, that whether it be a 3 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot, however many foot leader, that's where we're judging, you know, what we want to our lure to be able to, you know, get through the water right, the fish not to see it, or, you know, we want to be stout there. We're fishing around some stuff that could be snaggy. We may want to up to, you know, even though you're only, say I'm running 10-pound test braid, but I may want to slap on, you know, for that particular time. I still got my drag set to where it won't snap the 10-pound test, but I may want to run a 15-pound leader of, say, 6 foot, just because I'm going to be around some sharp stuff and I won't have to worry about that as much. So that's kind of where my mindset is. And most of my setups, you'll see I'm running 10-pound braid to a 10, 8, or 6-pound leader. I don't even actually own anything lighter than the 6 pound, other than this 2 pound I did for testing, and you will not see me fishing with that unless I do some stupid little challenge. But my normal fishing, no, 6 pound is as light as I go. I know I'm using BFS, and you'll see me in these little creeks and streams throwing little bitty baits, but I'm using 6 pound. And P-Line Original, I still haven't found, I haven't really looked for, you know, cheaper, more affordable thing, because I consider my leader, that has to be right. And P-Line Original, just, I've never had a problem with it. It is abrasion, it's kind of a copolymer. It's abrasion resistant. It doesn't necessarily sink or float. I mean, it's just a more, it covers everything. It simplifies my fishing. I just tie on that 6, 8, or 10, usually 10. Sometimes I go down to 6 on the creeks and streams. If you see me usually fishing out on any bigger bodies of water that's not a creek or a stream, it's 10-pound. Occasionally I'll go to 6, or if I've had it on, I'll just leave it on. So I've covered the line. Hopefully you're going to get my mindset on the lines I use and why I use them, kind of thing. I went away a long time ago from using regular line. It just the hassles that, you know. And honestly, the fluorocarbon, I tried fluorocarbon, and I just, I call it one of the weakest lines there is. If it kinks, if it gets a, you know, shock, I don't know. Now I've seen them talking about the newer stuff that's kind of was designed for saltwater fishing, the more, you know, shocking type things that will happen in saltwater. You know, it's more demanding than bass freshwater fishing. So I've tempted, I might at some point try that out, but P-Line Original, it has me covered so far. So I'm gonna line up all these, start the process, getting everything lined up. And how I do it is I just take some of that P-Line Original, 6, 8, or 10, and I tie on, you know, if you want to just tie straight braid to a spool, there's a way to do it. And Jimmy from Roar Fishing has the best video on it. I'm not going to be sharing the links to you. If I knew how to do that a lot simpler and easier, I would. It'd be on the end of this video. But if you want to know how to tie on direct braid to your spool without having, and do not tie through the hole. I don't care what anybody says. Trust me, I've done it. I've been there, done that. Whether you're tying mono, fluoro, straight braid, you try to go through 2 of these little holes and tie a knot, and you're all cool and fancy. That, I don't care how smooth it seems, that's sharp. That is a spot that will break. And I have actually seen it. You don't have to necessarily spool the, you know, say a fish runs you all the way out and you're thinking that's the only way to break. That can break just over time, because if you got straight braid tied on there and just the pressure, if the braid is wanting to slip and the only thing holding it is that knot, well, trust me, that's putting pressure on that. You may have, I had a reel do it to me one time. I thought the drag was slipping. Something in the reel was like jacked up. And what had happened was my knot had broke. And so it was still holding, you know, it was cinched up. It was a lot of line. It wasn't a BFS spool. It was like a more mid-range ones or whatever. But anyway, I had it tied through the holes. I think it was an older Daiwa. And it was slipping because the knot had broke, had gotten cut. And it took me to, you know, unspool it and go, oh, that's why. But never tied directly that. If you watch Jimmy's thing, he basically wraps you know, you take the spool out and you run your line through the eye, down, out through the hole over here, and you kind of tie the knot with the spool out. You basically wrap like 3 times. I forget which exact knot he uses. He's got a special way to where it makes the knot lay flatter. But so with the 3 wraps, it won't let it slip. Me, I just run like a 3 to 6 foot leader of the same stuff basically that's going to be on the other end. That way, just in case of an emergency, say you forget your line, you're out somewhere and you're like, oh, my leader broke and the fish are line shy. It'd be a hard thing to do, but technically you can undo all of your line, you know, break it there at the spool, you know, run the line back around, then you do the knot like either Jimmy's talking about, or yes, in emergency, just freaking tie directly onto that. In emergency, not like as your everyday way to spool up a spool with line. Then you got a leader on the other end. It's just kind of like and it's just the way I've done it, and it's the way I continue to do it. So I tie 3 to 6 foot leader, tie on my braid, go up, and I don't have one spooled up right at the moment, or I'd show you, because I have this one spooled up, but I go usually more than that. I just I was out testing and I put whatever line this was off of, I stuck on this and it wasn't quite enough. But I usually go way more than that. But not a lot more, and it depends on the spool. But on these shallow spools, I don't go as high as what I think I see a lot of people go. I tend to go just a little bit down from there and then tie on my leader. My leader is, I never want my leader to go up and actually inside here. So I try to say my arm span, you know, I grab it and I stretch out my arms, and however far that is, I tie. But some of these shorter rods, like if you are using shorter rods, you'll want to go maybe even less than that. When I'm pulling up to cast and I've only got like this much line out and I'm going to cast, I don't want the knot, I want the leader knot to go inside here anywhere. I want it to be just out here or somewhere up, you know, between your line guide and the first eye, somewhere is where I like my leaders to give them a little bit, you know, when you cast, because technically that little knot could start to hang up. You don't want it right in there or right stuck on a guide somewhere, like right as you're trying to get some momentum started, is not a good idea. So I like from here, before that first big guide, because they're usually bigger guides, but as long as you give yourself some gap somewhere and then you rear back and cast, your line's going, you may hear as it goes out, but I've never had an issue with that knot. I don't feel it. I haven't really tested it, but when I have just been out here doing cast tests and stuff with regular, you know, not using the leader, I don't seem to get any more distance from that. So, and that's how I do that. So now let's jump to and somebody, yeah, Catch a Cow says, I love AliExpress. Love's a strong word. I don't know if I love it. I definitely like it. It's an affordable way to get a lot of, a lot more bass fishing gear and gear in general. And they sell everything. For those of you who don't know, if you watch this channel, you swear that AliExpress is strictly a fishing type thing. AliExpress is just a platform for people to go and purchase stuff from China. There's kind of like, is it Shopee? And there's some other ones like there's like Japanese versions of that. There's like Yahoo Japan and different stuff to get stuff from Japan. But I've heard comments about AliExpress, and I'll talk real quick about that before we go to spools. I've never had an issue with AliExpress. Now but AliExpress, it's not like an eBay exactly, but I'll compare it to eBay. eBay is a pretty good platform to let a buyer safely buy stuff and not try to get scammed if they're using PayPal. But you can also get scammed the other way. If you're a seller, sometimes you can have people try to buy. I've been scammed before on PayPal or through eBay using PayPal. I was selling stuff on eBay, sold the RC car. Guy bought it overseas. Showed him right on the ticket, going to take 2 weeks to get there to him. That's just what it was going to take. Not 4 days into it, he disputed it and ended up trying to get all his money back. I'm like, dude, it's not even there yet. He was just trying to scam me. Okay, so there's ways to get scammed on anything. You have to be careful. But I've had people dogging AliExpress on, on this channel here on the comments, like, oh, AliExpress is not, reliable. And yeah, AliExpress is pretty good. There's shops inside of AliExpress, just like there's individual sellers on eBay that are scammers. Their sole purpose is to try to scam you. But you have to be careful. If you're seeing something and it doesn't seem legit, it might not be. But here's what I've had happen with AliExpress. I've never had an issue. And I'll talk about, I bought a rod, paid the money, and it sounded so cheap. It was one of those Lure Stars, the streamer. If $70 shipped. It sounded way crazy. Everybody else the cheapest thing I found was $85 from Ace Hawk store, which is actually a reliable store on AliExpress. But this other store had it for $70, so I purchased it. Waited a week, or no, three or 4 days. He hadn't even shipped it yet. Everything else I'd purchased during that sale would ship. So I messaged him, why haven't you shipped this? Well, his thing, he made some excuse that they said they couldn't ship it. I'm like, dude, I buy rods all the time. You can ship a 2-piece rod from China to the United States. Well, what it was, either he was a legit business and he didn't, just got started, didn't realize how much it was to ship a rod, so he should have added more money. He just did not want to sell me that rod for $70, basically. So I filed a dispute with AliExpress, got my money back, no problem. Because what AliExpress, as far as I know, what I've read and looked and watched and in my experiences, if you buy something, all you have to do, if it doesn't make it to you, all you have to do is dispute it. You just have to say, never received items. They will give you your money back. If everything you buy from AliExpress has to have a tracking thing to get to you, even the littlest little thing, these little magnets I just bought. And so if it does not get there, if it shows packaging in there, you have so many days you got to wait, which kind of sucks. But you will get your money back if you get something and it is just not what it was supposed to be. Just like that, the lingual 7 point whatever grams. I disputed that. I got $28. I could have sent it right back, just like the turquoise fox. So I don't have any issue with AliExpress. I've been buying from them for several years now. I suggest, just like if you've watched the real test, when they want credit card info, don't do that. Just use through PayPal, because then you're also backed up by PayPal. So say if AliExpress were to let you down, usually then you file with PayPal, then you're covered. So you almost have I'm not saying nothing's 100% in this world, if you guys know what I'm saying, but it's almost 100% guarantee you're going to get what you ordered, or you can get your money back if you don't, or if you're not happy with, if you get it and it's just like, dude, this is nothing like the picture, technically I probably could have sent this rod back, if you guys have followed the story on this rod. So anyway, I don't have an issue with AliExpress. So those of you guys that do, I'm sorry for your luck, but I will continue to use AliExpress until, like my fish hookups, until I'm losing more than I'm gaining, then we'll be discussing that. So let's go to the spools. Here's what we've all been waiting for, and it took me almost 20 minutes to get here. If you watch the real test, and he talks a lot about 9 grams. BFS spool needs to weigh 9 grams or less to be BFS. Well, I'm going to kind of broaden that out, not broaden that, I'm going to shrink it up into different categories on how I feel anyway, because I get people asking me all the time, this reel over that reel over this reel, whatever. Depends on what you're doing. Whoa. And there's also, we've never really, I guess people have, and those of you that have done it for years, you don't need to, but anybody new into this, or they hear the word BFS, even if they fished a while or they're new to fishing, they're just they seem lost sometimes when they're asking questions anyway on the channel. And if you're on some Facebook groups and stuff, And so there really is truly the reels. We've BFS is kind of more or less designed to do away with spinning reels, right? You can take a bait caster and go further down that spectrum of the lightweight bait you're throwing, still using bait casting gear. But you kind of have to go with reels with, say, the ultralight rods or super ultralight or your real light rods. And then you've got your light. Then you've got your medium light. And then mediums, where you can still use BFS stuff with that medium rod, let you cast certain weights, right? So there's kind of these little categories. And then you also have where you're fishing, little creeks and streams, little ponds, small lakes, big ponds, big strip pits, and then you got your big lake fishing. Your bigger, just where you need either these souped up kayaks or a big bass boat to cover a lot of water. And then you can still have BFS stuff, but typically your little ultralight stuff, even some of your regular light stuff kind of fall the wayside because you're covering more water. You're going to want to use little baits, but you want to get bigger stuff. So this is where I'm going to try to not necessarily talk about the rods right now. I'm going to talk about the reels and the spools because that's the most asked questions I get. And then rods would be next. Rods is the most confusing of it. Reels, I feel, is pretty simple. And we've gotten lucky enough now, we're into, what you could call the second or third stage of BFS reel evolution. So, we've fished with finesse reels for years. You'll hear people talking about that, 10, 15, 20 years. And some of your, Aldebarans, alphas were out and they weren't called BFS. They were just, coming with shallower spools. And some of them said right on them finesse, custom finesse. That's actually custom finesse side plate. The Edo AIs and people, we were starting that, but then they started calling stuff BFS. And then AliExpress jumped on board, CDM, Chinese domestic market, and these cheaper ones popped up. And you kind of had your first batches. You had your, GH100s, your PW100s, and everything. And then now there's another wave. And then you've got the, Daiwa, Alpha's Airstream Customs, and all those coming out. The Alpha's Air TW. Shimano's still kind of sleeping. They're still just, they came out the Corrado BFS, but that's not anything new. It's the Scorpion. They just brought it to you. They just brought their BFS reel to the United States to sell, is all that Shimano's done in like 5 years. So I plan, and they should be doing something here pretty quick. So anyway, here's where I kind of draw the line. Like, if you guys have watched the reel test, I'm sure you guys do. He's got way more followers than I do. But back in the day, that was the PW100. So without the bearing, definitely under 9 grams. And that's another thing. When you've heard the reel test or anybody talk about what a spool weighs, that's technically without the bearing, if it's got a bearing. Some of them don't. And if they're a small enough bearing, that's a Shimano Aldebaran BFS. That's actually a different bearing, but real light. So anyway, when they first come out, you had the GH100 and the PW100 from AliExpress. You were having these, the Aldebaran was probably one of the lighter ones. The Abu Garcia was in the mix and all that kind of stuff. So we're not really going there, but I'm just going with the general weight. So those first batches, they were at that 9 or just under, but now that's old school. This is one of the last spools that's still right there, the Shimano Aldebaran BFS. Nowadays, to be in that ultralight range over here, you're wanting to fish with ultralight, super ultralight stuff, go the littlest stuff, creeks, streams, all that kind of stuff. This is about this weight you need to start at or go way lower. There's like spools way lighter than this now, right? We all know this. So I kind of figure that as like a guideline. So even though you can get into BFS, you're just in what I call power BFS fishing. You're into, you're touching in on it, but you're kind of behind the ball in my mind as far as if you want to throw that ultralight stuff, creeks and streams. You can still get by with the small stuff. And I'm going to put a video out on my combos showing, like, I'll bring the baits up and hold them up on what you can throw. So the reels, like what I recommend on all these older reels, like this is the original Black Knight, okay? And this is original PW100. And so the Spirit Fox PW100, and there's a few other reels that carry that. I can no longer recommend that as a best, like, all-around BFS reel because it's not. The spools are too heavy. See that? The one I still can recommend is the purple, the Pro version. That's the Pro version spool. Now, the bearing makes it a little lighter than it even was back then, but 7.5 with that bearing, that thing weighs under 7 grams. Very good, capable spool. But you see the weight difference between the original? You're talking over 2 grams. Well, about 2 grams. Same thing with the Black Knight. The original Black Knight is still a good reel, and I'll talk about that and what you can use these. You can repurpose more or less, or if you've never had one, you can buy one if you want to do like power fishing, BFS power fishing or something like that. But see, the original Black Knight spool, I call it a tank compared to some of these littler ones nowadays. That sucker, but what I use it for, or well, I intended to, no one wants it, so what I plan on using all of these, what I call the older technology, but they still make them. They still, the MK9. But basically, same kind of idea of spool weight, right? Let me try to, oh boy, I'm running out of room over here. So even though this is a new reel and it's a lingle variant, but it is not up there in speed with the lingle. But it's still a good reel. See that weight? Where these come in is for that higher end. That higher end of the spectrum, it's still real finesse. And you can throw, basically, if you don't have the, or you just don't want to spin, you know, you're kind of like me. You have, well, I bought this, but I don't know if I would have bought this reel if I didn't have a fishing channel. I may have just stuck with like the MK9 kind of stuff. Now this is probably one of the most capable spools I've ever seen. But see that weight? What you can get by with if you fish with braid is you could buy, instead of this reel, because this is almost $300 reel. And so if you're on a budget, you could buy this reel, and these are what I recommend. I mean, if you have these floating around or you come across a deal on something, the old, almost any of them that have a heavier than that 7 something. So if they've got like a 9-gram spool or that what they came with, even your older finesse alphas or whatever, if you can come across those, they can still be used in that power BFS range, or what I call it, where you're throwing, you know, you're going to, I don't know, decent sized ponds, small ponds even, pits, lakes, whatever. You're kind of doing away with the issue of needing an SV or an MGL spool, and you're going to run braid, 15 pounds, what I recommend. Even if you're going to run 12-pound main line or whatever, you know, like I talked about, that mentality of thinking of your main braided line as like a fly line. You just want something to, you know, basically tie a lead or two to then get your bait out in the water. You're not really worried about, you know, being any certain exact. You just want to use the best for the job and not have any issues with worrying about it breaking or failing. So on your newer reels that are popping out, they're coming with 2 spools and they're only $75. That's why, like the MK9, the Turquoise Fox, and there's several others. There's also variants of like the Zephyr that are out there. Some of them come with 2 spools. If you're just wanting to kind of dabble into BFS but still want a good reel for all around, I recommend those probably even over all these other ones that come with just one dedicated spool. If you know you're going BFS and you want to go with these lighter baits, then yeah, that's when I go with, and still the one to this date, for the money, the best all-around BFS reel from AliExpress, the Lingle. Let it focus. Focus, Lingle. Now, if you're wondering, if you're new to the channel, I got single lifestyle handles on all these. I make these. They're not for sale. I've got videos out. Go look how to make it, how to actually make different knobs if you want. You see some of these knobs look weird. I shape all my knobs, handles, and all that just to, I guess, be different. Best reel all around. This thing is awesome. I kind of had a video out yesterday, talked about some of the, let me get the spool out here. I did some cast testing out front, and with that, it's got the Roro bearing, so it looks a little lighter than it actually is. But that did come in at 7.4 with the stock bearing. I thought I weighed, I don't remember what it weighed now without the bearing period, but very awesome, capable reel with this spool. Now, this is the same as the GH100 as far as the spools will interchange. This is the same reel frame as the MK9s, but the spools won't interchange because they got a different braking system. The MK9 has your standard. In order for the spools to have dual spools is why they've done it. So this one, we go like this. The magnets work just on the actual part of the spool. And then the shallow spool, they would have had to like put two different braking systems in order to have the fake Shimano one. So they got this, and then they add the little plate. So both spools work off the same braking system. So I kind of feel that's a letdown for me, but I understand why they did it in order to have the, it makes it a more versatile reel. And I've definitely got a use for this. I've got another, if you've been following, I've unboxed the turquoise fox. It was a left-handed. I ended up selling it to a subscriber along with the Zephyr that was the left-handed Zephyr. So I still have this guy. And this is also one that I put, it's just older, even though it hasn't been out that long, and we'll show you. It's what I call the lighter spools older technology. I guess it's just what it is. It's just like a finesse spool. They're older technology. See that weight? Even though it seems kind of light, 875, that still is just not, it's not there. It's a gram heavier. This is like the borderline for me anyway nowadays. That PW 100 Pro, for any of them that definitely have this kind of magnet braking like all these other ones do. The only reason that the Shimano Aldebaran BFS or even the Calcutta Conquest, which if I haven't mentioned yet or you don't know, I do have one of those coming. I think TJ, I think he's a subscriber, maybe he's not, but off of BFS Fishing. I put out that I've thought about getting one before I bought the Zillion, and he just messaged me a couple days ago, "Oh, you still interested in a Conquest BFS?" And I'm like, well, I wasn't, but I was like, well, yeah, send pics, how much? I'm a wheeler and dealer if you guys haven't figured that out by now. So he sent me pics, gave me an offer that I technically couldn't refuse because I did buy it. So it's coming, should be here this coming week, and we'll talk about it. But the Aldebaran BFS, the Conquest BFS are the only ones that are still up there. They're right there at that cutoff weight because they have the braking, just like the Lingle, like the Black Knight 2. That FTB braking system is what I think lets those spools and the little bearings. They've got change bearings. We'll talk more of that in a minute. But the Zephyr, that's why this reel, basically because of the spool. Cast King needs to do a couple things if they want. They've made that Zephyr rod, which can go way crazier lighter than this spool will allow, easily anyway. This spool, it's just a heavier spool for today's standards. But it still works. But I would have to put the Cast King Zephyr right there with the all these other ones. The GH100, the original PW100, the Spirit Fox, the XF50, all of them. And it's just a weight thing. If you weigh your spool up and it weighs just like what this guy did, and it's this kind of braking, you've got what I call a all around. I'm not saying you can't go throw a 2-gram thing. You're not going to throw a trout magnet worth the darn. You might still get it out there, but it's not going to be good. You're going to kind of struggle with 2 grams. Anything definitely under 2 grams or under, you can do it. It's just not going to be as easy. You would be way better off. You're way better served to upgrade to something real lightweight. Then you get into these guys. These 2 guys right here. If you haven't watched the video when I talked about the results, I'll just give you a heads up real quick. Did a little shootout between these 2. Basically the same reel. Lighter spool, ceramic bearings. This guy can cast a trout magnet better than this guy. This guy right here, Black Knight 2, definitely by just the ease and a foot or 2 can beat this guy. That's stock bearings. I haven't sprayed them out or anything. They're regular bearings. Quieter, smoother. Overall reel, I didn't think I would. I like this reel just a touch better than this guy. But the ease of throwing that 1 gram goes to this guy. It just does. I had him out there, and I didn't think it would be that big a deal. I didn't think the ceramic bearings would be a bigger deal than the spool weight. But the spool weight is like 0.2 grams, and it's just not enough of a difference in the difference that ceramic bearing made. And it's because it's ceramic. Now this is a new one and this is a new one. I got them at the same time. This isn't my old one. If you don't know the magnet fix, look up all that. But anyway, the ceramic bearings, don't really need a braking bearing. They just go. I think your regular spool bearings, I need to spray this thing out, put just a touch of that BFS oil on them, and then fish them and do this test like in another, say, not month, but a month of fishing. So whenever I finally get out in the water and start fishing, just let this thing get broke in, and then maybe retouch that deal to see if I really need to, before I go and buy the ceramic bearings, or if they come out with them. Anybody comment below if you've seen where they have the micro ceramic bearings for these, because they already are real small and they're ceramic on this guy, so I could technically just order some for this and then slap them in this guy. But this is your, where you need to be if you want to throw the lightest stuff. You're over here, you're in that ultralight, super ultralight, little creeks and streams, little trout magnets, little stuff. You need to be here with these spools, and we'll show you the Dark Wolf Ultra just because it weighs less. Oh, I already had that loose. And the JDM versions, I actually don't even put the Shimano Aldebaran here. The Aldebaran or the Conquest, you need to get, if you want to be where these guys are, the newest technology out, you need to get the aftermarket spools. These will still kind of get you, yeah, they'll get close, but they're not quite there on the ease of casting. Yeah, the Aldebaran's a better overall reel, but the spool, we're talking just spools. But you get the this spool right there, then you're close. You're still technically not 100% here, and we'll get more into that in just a second. It's basically because of how small around that spool is. But aftermarket spool puts you right there close. But you can't touch this. This is like MC Hammer, right? It's just too legit to quit. But anyway, I'm going to show you weights on it, and you'll see that's just with the stock, but it's a little bitty bearing. So yeah, 6.1, which is what it's supposed to weigh. That is a huge black knight. I got the wrong reel. So let's, come on, play along. So let's get the spool out of the Black Knight 2, not the original Black Knight. So we got 6.16, 6.47. So see, you got like 0.2 or whatever difference, but that weight difference, because that little bearing actually weighs more than this little bearing. But when you get, if you can tell, that's you're actually way like 1.5 grams lighter. So when you get down into this, and then you get into that little narrow, even though this is a pretty narrow spool, it just lets the lightest of the light. Now here's a downside to that. It throws the lightest of the light baits better than anything on the planet, and it's right there with the Alpha's Air. Now we haven't seen what the Gecko Pigeon, which I call the Geico Pigeon, or the new Airstream is capable of, but I had the Alpha's Air TW, and we've watched a real test do shootouts and a couple other people, and I don't think we watched him with this, but with this, he and which I feel it will too. This should beat this even when he does a test if he compares them. So hopefully he does a magnet fix, and you guys will watch him doing that. He's got more subscribers than me, and they'll kind of get it out there. That add those little 0.5 magnets, and you're good to go. Also, somebody asked me real quick. I'm going to talk about the channel just for a second, and then we'll go back to the spools. Someone had asked me where I got my magnets at. Share the link. Well, there's two things to that. One, you don't need this many magnets, so you just need to search. Go on AliExpress or just search around. And I don't even know how to say it or spell it, but neodyne, whatever magnets is what you're looking for, and you're looking for 4 millimeters by 0.5 millimeters. Very little. I got like 200 of them. You don't want that link. You don't want to spend $10 on 200, and you're only going to need 6 for one reel. Even if you have like 5 reels, you don't need that many. So you don't want to spend $10. Search around. Trust me. I just did a quick search, found them, ordered them, wasted a lot of money, but I got a lot. Charles is going to need some. I'm going to give him some, and we'll find a use for magnets. So anyway, look for that link. But in the process of doing that, what happens on my channel, I guess on anybody's channel, it's just the way YouTube is. So some of you guys, if you get discouraged and you think I'm deleting your comments because they were either rude or sharing the link, you can ask Jay about this. I want you guys to comment. Now, if they're too rude or too stupid, and then I got some scammers or people pop up with trying to do a link to something that didn't even have anything to do with fishing, then yeah. But YouTube has its own way of filtering out that kind of stuff. So somebody just asked me about where to get these, and I could see the link will show up like on my YouTube studio, but I try to click on it and then it says no longer available. What they've done, they've pulled it off. And Jay, it's happened to him several times because I'll tell him like share a link. It'll let me share links to like another video, another place, but it won't let people that aren't the channel creator like on their comments because it's to help keep from scamming kind of thing. So if you put a comment out and I either don't answer it or you don't see it, it doesn't mean I deleted it. I mean, it's a possibility, but I probably didn't. You need to reword what you were asking or saying, and then it should get through, hopefully. So, you know, because I want you all, if somebody's got something to say, I want to hear it, whether it's good or bad. But yeah, just like this crazy, something just popped up now that's like some kind of scam, stupid stuff. But anyway, so magnets, track them down. They're not hard to find, trust me. It just didn't take me long, but I wouldn't recommend where I got mine from. They were on AliExpress, but I paid too much, bought way too many. I just wanted to get them here, and they're already here, thankfully, and all that's a done deal. And so they are already on there. If you, well, we'll talk about that real quick. If you can see, and if you haven't watched the other videos, it's real simple. Get that 4mm by 1/2 millimeter, 0.5 millimeter. You only put 3 on. You put the first 3 on to where the thing moves. See that? Where it lifts. Oh, let me get the screwdriver off. You go 1, 2, 3. That last one, do not put one there. Now you could try it. Here's what happened on both of my reels. When I put one there, it drug. Like I could, anything past 2 on the setting, I could hear it dragging on my spool. And then after we got done with that, on this reel, and even though the Black Knight 2 seemed to cast a little further, they both seemed to do the same thing when I was out there testing them. If you can see right, we've got that one. Now that may be 2 I may have actually hit it, but when I was casting like 1.5 grams, a little heavier, I could actually go down. I could go down to like 1 past 3, so like 2 3/4 or so. But when I went to that 1 gram trout magnet, I had to have it the first notch past 3. That's just where it had to go. Otherwise, it would backlash. So that's where I'm going to try to go out like as a set it and forget it deal. I'm just going to try to leave it there. Now, if I feel I just need to get more distance, then I may adjust it, and I may just realize I have a reel that is, you know, not capable of being a set and forget it. You can feel it pulling, or you can feel it want to backlash like the minute you change a gram or so on your baits. I like reels that just kind of, you can throw a bunch of different weights and it feels like it's a set it and forget it, what I call reel. So anyway, let me put, oh boy, some of these spools back in here. I'm putting all my line on that the ones I want to put 10 pound. I'm realizing some of them I need to put, I need to order 15 pound. Because I ain't gonna lie, what I was gonna do, if that 10 pound Proberos would have broke at say like 14, 12, 14, somewhere in that area, I wasn't gonna buy 15. I was just gonna put that 10 on everything, run a 15 pound leader to my heavier stuff that I'm throwing chatterbait, you know, 1/2 ounce chatterbaits, spinner baits, 3/4 ounce rattle traps. I'm just gonna run a 15 pound leader with say that breaking strength of 12 or 14 or whatever, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna, definitely not gonna chance that it seems to be breaking right where it's rated at. So I will not go over a 10 pound leader with this Proberos camo braid. So I'll need to order some 15 pound test and put on. But this guy is, because the spool is so capable, is probably just going to get that 10 pound test. And it's going to go on 802, I think, so far. So far as of right now. But I got 2 spools coming. I've got a cheap like $15 spool we're going to try out. It'll probably end up sitting there with all these other spools that I never use. But then I got that like $54 chameleon spool coming. I think it's chameleon or whatever brand it is that's coming. I got a gold one coming. I got a gold, I got a gold Dragstar coming, like shaped like this guy. I got another purple one and for one of the Black Knight 2s, and then I got a gold one coming for this guy. So I plan on just a couple more things of gold, and then that's what it'll be. It'll kind of have the same kind of color deal like the lingo, because this tends to go with everything. So then this guy should just look just a touch more bling, and maybe a cork knob, haven't figured out yet. I kind of like these black ones now. So anyways, this is a long video, but hopefully I covered any questions. Nobody even jumped on here. I'm gonna be putting out a video talking about the baits on my combos. But basically, if you have no knowledge, I guess, of what you want, you know, you're just getting into fishing period, and the first thing you happened upon was BFS. Like these reels are sort of, you know, the Alpha's Air, it's because of the little spools. They kind of are, I call them, well, I think the Reel Test calls them one-trick ponies, or I call them one-hit wonders. They're real good for throwing the lightest baits, but they're kind of like that song you heard back in the 80s, and you're like, what happened to that band? And that's the only song they were good at, the only song that made it anywhere. I'm kind of finding that I'm wondering if that's why some of these guys are, but maybe not, because I'm going to be doing different shootouts. But the reason I picked the lingle, because they may still be good, they just may not be as good as, say, the lingle on all around. Because I feel that the lingle may outcast these reels when it comes to that, like 2 grams and up. So if I want a reel that I'm putting 10-pound braid on, I'm going to throw it on a broad spectrum. I want to be able to dabble into this ultralight, but I'm going to throw it with the light rod. I might even want to slap it on a medium light up to a medium rod, like I have the lingle on a Tatula rod, and just do a lot of stuff with that reel. I picked this reel over those Black Knight 2 or the Dark Wolf. I still have this reel top dog. Now, if you're sure you want, you want the highest end, the best reel for the ultralight stuff, I still, over this reel, would have to say one of the Alpha variants. The Alpha's Air TW, probably the newest stream angler that's coming out, Silver Creek, whatever that one's called. It's kind of a brown reel with the very lightened gold-looking stuff, I think is what it is, if you haven't seen that one. The Geico Pigeon, maybe even over this reel. But if you're wanting an all-around that can definitely cast this, it casts 1 gram trap magnet with this, almost as far. It'll cast it further than a lingle by a little bit, but almost as far as these guys. It's close. It won't beat them, but it's a doable, castable thing with that spool. You can get out there, have a lot of fun in this realm. Excels here and then carries you all over, anywhere you want to throw. And I'll run 10-pound test, throw, I can't say, I mean, it feels like a pretty stout spool. I wouldn't have a problem. I wouldn't run 15-pound, but like 10 to 12, like 10-pound test, 12-pound leader, just to make sure it doesn't get, any abrasion, a little nick or something. Cast a 1/4 ounce, I would probably cast heavier than 1/4 ounce baits with that spool. That spool feels pretty stout. I ain't gonna lie. It definitely doesn't have that, I'm just gonna crack apart, feel like I feel some of them have. Like the Alpha's Air I had, it was fragile. I'm pretty sure that spool was KTF spool, but I'm pretty sure it was made in France because it was fragile. So anyway, if you got any questions about spools, I don't know if I covered everything or not, but this video is getting long, so I need to get off of here. Ronco reels, I don't even know what that is. I'm going to get out of here, get these things lined up at some point, if not today, sometime wait for it in the week coming up. Now I've got a kind of a funky video coming out. It's going to have this, you're going to see a little action with this combo. It looks a little different. When I first got it, the Zephyr rod with, I think, a Black Knight 2 on it, the CU double, and the Toma rod. I was trying to see if they were capable of a shaky head. They're not. But watch the video. I was casting 1/2 ounce, or not 1/2 ounce, 16th ounce and 1/8 ounce shaky head jigs with the zinkers, and that was my downfall. Just that little bit, because I, Texas rig them, basically skin hook them, and just trying to set the hook with those light tipped rods. I was using the light tips on the Toma and the CU double, and I even threw that little, I called it in the video, I think I called it the Tank Girl, the gold mud carp, that pink rod. I just tried it just to try. I was out just in a trying mode back in, that was early beginning of spring. And It was almost a failure video. I have a lot of stuff I'm in there talking about, but try to watch that video and I might leave it fairly long. But you'll see me in the first initial impressions on a lot of this stuff that I've had now for a while, but I'm just now getting around to editing some of those videos that they just not a ton of fish catches. I did a lot of talking about stuff, but anyway, stay tuned for that. As of right now, and I can't explain it, but the best feeling reel I have overall as far as palmability is this guy right here. He has surpassed, I think, even this guy. Now, maybe not. I have to test them on the same rods. But that Dark Wolf Ultra, it's just more rounded. See how rounded this reel is? And that's why one of the reasons, it's a capable, they're both capable. Look good overall. This looks way better than this. But look good. And then they just palm, like they just palm so good. They just, you know, fit, functionality, everything's right there. It's just very good. But the lingle, now he's he's almost like a tank compared to those two as far as weight, palmability. Now palm's good, but it palms bigger. It almost palms close to the same, but you feel like there's more weight, like you're holding it. It's hard to explain, but it's a good feel. It's just like this guy. I guess I call it, they palm bigger than say the Aldebaran, probably even the Alphas, Air, TW, definitely the Black Knight too. But they just have that good feel. They feel smaller to me than like this big tank, the original Black Knight, or even the Zephyr. The Zephyr palms kind of comfortably, but it just feels big. It feels bigger for whatever reason to me than this Zillion does, or the Lingles or the variants. As I'm getting out of here, I'll talk about that real quick. Like these reels look very close as far as what size they are. And if I had to call it, I would guess this one looks like it should feel smaller. Like when I put it on a real seat, I don't know, sometimes just the angle where you're looking at them. And when I was watching a video, I watched a video of a guy holding this one up with the Alphas SVTW, and I could have swore the Alphas just looked bigger. Like you do like that, and Alphas just looked huge compared. But I don't know why I can't make myself like the way that Zephyr feels when it's on a real seat. But man, you palm that thing and you're like, oh, it just feels big. This feels better to me for whatever reason. So as I get out of here, I was out doing some cast testing, and if it actually doesn't get dark enough around here for me to do it. But I was throwing, and they came in a package. I was throwing that guy in the dark because they came in a package and they're glow in the dark. They're these little Toma glow in the dark baits, and that bait I could actually watch it. I could watch it in there and watch where it was landing out there. But I do have like a street light and my porch light, so I would imagine it would be even more intense, like if you even got it darker. But I was out there and I've kind of done a few things to my Alpha's Edo AI. The original plastic side casing finally totally gave way. Like the inner part, it cracked out on me. It was a sad day, but not really, because I knew it was probably going to happen. But I fixed, and listen to this. You hear that? I finally fixed the drag. I put a drag clicker in it, but it was muffled. It was muted. It did not sound good. So I took it back apart and redid it. It was just by using the parts that come on the drag stack. If you're not familiar with Alphas, has like a ton of like triple layered. But anyway, so the Alphas is fixed, and I can't show you on here, but I'll try to show you a demonstration. I fixed I made it smoother. I'm gonna try to, I can't show you because it wants to pull up too much line. But I'll try to show you by watching that fall. No. Oh my God. If you guys could see this line. It wrapped around every freaking reel down here. That's why it wasn't letting it. Let me show you. Hang on. I'm gonna show you guys before I get out of here. This reel, for whatever reason, just was it was kind of, had a bound up feel. Well, it's still bound up. No, oh, I don't know. I'm going to get out of here, but I was going to try to show you that it is a freer, it's freer than it was. It had, I don't even know what the issue was, but I did take out this bearing. And it had like the sides were gone, but it had like a gunky grease. It definitely a thick oil. So I cleaned, this one still spun real free. I just spin it by my fingers and it just spun. You could watch it spin for a little bit, then it would stop. This one I took out and actually put it on well, golf tee, just a plastic, wooden little golf tee thing, my little bearing tester. And it would not even start to spin. So I sprayed it out, brake clean, put just a touch of oil. So we got definitely better bearings in there. I was out casting this, and this is a little chunk of weight, but I was casting this easily, just flying right across the street, like 75, 80, probably 80 foot. Didn't really even dial it in. I was just kind of out playing around at wherever that, I couldn't even see the setting. I was just clicking it down. So I'm just now actually looking to see where I had it set at, but might be able to go, whoa, might be able to go a touch lighter, but it was going and it's feeling good, better than this reel's felt since I bought it. And I cleaned it up and kind of went through it a little bit, but definitely this is my old school combo setup. Got it on this old, my luckiest rod I've ever owned, as far as it just flat out works. Not necessarily even lucky for me, just everybody that uses this, it's kind of one of my, like, I let everybody and their brother use it. So Olivia caught her personal best bass on that rod. Noah's caught, the only time he ever beat me, he caught 8 bass in a row in like 36 degrees cold winter water. 8 bass in a row with a TRD, and I didn't catch a thing. I could not get anything to hit. Noah smoked me, and it was on this rod. He had a Alphas, well, Zonda Rosso, Mega Bass Zonda Rosso, basically an Alphas is what he was using. So anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Keep it under an hour. Set it and forget it. It is Ronco rotisserie. Oh. Yeah, set it and forget it. But that's what I like. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Get out of here. Go bass and bonsai. But whatever you do, make sure you have fun doing it. Ain't nobody doing any fishing right now in these parts because it is cold outside. Cold, cold, cold. Get all your bass stuff ready, right?